Introducing
Pretty Girls Love Real Estate. Stories of everyday women breaking barriers and building wealth through real estate.
Let's get it. Boss. BOSS.
Hello. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Pretty Girls Love Real Estate podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Washington, and we're here today with another extra special guest. I'm super excited to have her. She is one of my fellow Project REAP alumni. Shout out to the class of 2019 in New York City. Her name is Chang, and I'm excited to have her because she has a fascinating journey into getting into real estate and a lot of information that she's going to share with us about the New York City and New Jersey real estate market, a lot of nonprofit organizations and plans that she's been involved in. So I'm just really excited to hear everything she had to share with us today. So June, how are you? Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for the invite. I'm so honored. This is a wonderful, wonderful venture you're doing. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you so much. And I know like you're always supporting everything, even like having a housewarming cookout at my house. You're always there to support and you're always, gung-ho to do whatever. So thank you for your time. Like I told you before, you were on my short list of people when I was, first thinking about doing this. So I'm really glad that you can join me. So I'm super excited to talk to you today. So before we get into anything about real estate, like I know you have a very interesting path. First of all, you were born in Korea and then you came to this country later on. So can you just tell us a little bit about, growing up, your childhood and what you were involved in before you learned about real estate?
Sure. So I was born in South Korea in the 70s and late 70s. My mother was a Korean. My father came to America when he was a teenager. So I came from like really hardworking immigrants who really believed in the American dream. And they're also from the era when the Korean War broke out. So they have grit. And they have like the tenacity to keep working really hard to fulfill their dream. So growing up, my father, he's a doctor. My mom gave up her dream to support my father with his business. And they really worked hard to make a living for their family. And so I grew up in America, all along the East Coast, from Florida all the way up to New York. And my parents really pushed us really hard to learn, like they placed a lot of emphasis on education. So educating yourself will give you the tools necessary to create the life you want. That being said, after I graduated college, I went to school in New York. 1 year after I was out of school, 9/11 happened, and I decided to pursue my dream into government. Originally, I was going to go into law and decided it wasn't for me. And 9/11 opened my eyes to, I want to fight the bigger fight and, help the people. So I decided to go for my master's and try to go back to the government for a job, and didn't pan out that way. At that time, they were not interested in North Korea, so I didn't get the job with the CIA or NSA, and I ended up in broadcasting instead with my background. And I ended up working for the top network in South Korea, and I was doing documentaries for them at first. And I loved it because I love learning new things constantly. I love researching and being in the know of what's going on. And I got to see all different sides of, like, from politics to sports to current affairs. And I found it fascinating. But I didn't like being on the road all the time. So I ended up going back to Korea, and at first was teaching at a university until I had my lucky break to become a reporter and then later a news anchor at these stations. So again, the journalist background in me, I love it because I get to constantly learn new things, and one day is not the same as the next. And I know before you've asked me about how, I transitioned into journalism, into real estate. And while I was living in Korea, I was fascinated with real estate because I was constantly moving. Every every other year or every year I had to move. And Seoul is constantly changing. The landscape of the city, the landscape of society is constantly growing and developing. So watching that from like as a person trying to fit into society in Korea as an American, it was really quite interesting to watch. And New York was fast too, but Seoul is even faster.
Right.
So growing up in New York, I was always interested in real estate, but I didn't really get to see it in a different, I got to open my eyes by living in Korea. So I was a journalist in Korea for over a decade. And then I got into a big car accident. I got hit by a drunk driver, and he basically ended my career. But that's okay because, it led me to this path to come back home to America to be with family. That's the most important thing. And I had to figure out what I was going to do with the rest of my life when I come back. So I decided to pursue real estate. And at first, I really didn't know how I would create a life in real estate. I only thought that I could be a realtor, like a little soccer mom neighborhood realtor. And so I went off and got my license thinking that, there must be stuff that I can do beyond a soccer mom neighborhood realtor. And I went in, got my license in Jersey, and I still had these dreams. And the first agency I was working with are soccer mom neighborhood realtors. And I said, I have bigger dreams. They're laughing at me and they're like, this young gun, what does she know? Like, she should just get married and be a soccer mom neighborhood realtor. And I'm like, no, I'm going to go get my license in New York. And they're like, well, it's really hard to do both. And I'm like, okay, well, people have told me all my life it's really hard to do something, and I've always wanted to show them I can still do it. So I went to New York and got my license, and the teacher in that class, I told her, I really want to be part of changing the New York landscape. I want to be able to help other people somehow. I don't know how I'm going to be able to pull this off, but I don't want to be like one of the $1 million listing agents, on a TV show trying to show a glam life. I know that's not the reality, but I want to be able to make a difference. And I went into real estate hoping to build my financial portfolio, my families, my friends, and help others. And I'll explain later why this inspired me later, but I didn't want to use real estate as a tool of greediness, but rather to help others. And I also wanted to go into commercial real estate. And my instructor looked at me and she says, you're never gonna make it. And I'm like, why? So she's thinking in her head, a Manhattan soccer mom realtor, And I'm like, okay, no, that's not gonna happen. She's like, well, let me give you an update. The type of people in commercial real estate, she said that her son was 30 under 30. He was listed in one of the real estate
Commercial Observer, something like Real Deal, something like that.
So he was listed as 30 under 30. And she says, every time I see him, I go into his office, the whole room is, I'm sorry to talk about race, but Caucasian, young males who just came out of college.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, you're a middle-aged Asian woman, so you've got 3 strikes against you. Also, you don't have a background in finance, so you're not going to be able to do 1 + 1. And I had another person, my broker in Jersey, he told me, oh, June, you're never going to make it in commercial real estate. It's like trying to go from elementary school to getting your PhD. And I said, thank God I have my master's already. So I'm like, I can't be too far off. I'll just put in the work. And he gave me a hard time too. But the first deal I ended up, first listing I was trying to bring to the office were international properties. Mm-hmm. And I said, excuse me, my broker, my New Jersey broker. And I'm like, are we able to do this kind of a deal And he's like, because I'm so new, I don't know what kind of stuff. This is not the typical neighborhood house that is like white picket fences and on the corner of the lot. And I'm like, he's like, what kind of property is it? And I'm like, it's an island. And then he looks at me like I'm like losing it. And he says, what kind of island? I'm like, it's not even here. He's like, where is it? And I said, I've got 2 Greek islands. And he says, I don't
mind
know.
Blown.
He was mind blown. Because he was like, where is this person who came out of nowhere pulling in like international properties? And then later I was getting more, like I had a partnership with someone, and she was like telling me like I had to try to market one of the oldest golf country clubs in England, or there were like amazing buildings in London, and like hotels in Greece, or like all over Europe. There were different properties that I had access to it, and she wanted me to like have us try to sell it in America or Asia, especially with my Asia connections. And my broker was like, okay, June's a liability. A New Jersey newbie, like I don't know where she came from, and she's pulling in these kind of deals. It's like, I don't know how to deal with her. So that was at Keller Williams. I'm with Keller Williams in Manhattan still, and I know that there are teams that do international deals such as this, but my broker was not able to. And he's so, like, he's a male who's very ingrained with the thought that women cannot succeed in commercial real estate, and you're Asian, and you're brand new, so you don't know how to do 1 + 1. So I'm like, okay, I got it. Well, I switched over to Sotheby's. So Sotheby's also, they're the most well-known for international real estate and promoting the properties for internationally. But, you know, my manager there didn't have a clue as to how this all works too. But the thing is, just like journalism, every day is going to be a new experience. You're going to learn every day. You can be in the business for 30 years and a veteran, but you're constantly going to learn new things. So if you're going into real estate, you really have to have the mindset of constant growth and hustle and grit and perseverance and problem solving. Like, I mean, I could be a neighborhood realtor. I just don't want to be, you know? So I could take it easy and, you know, try to find a husband to marry and just do 1 or 2 deals a year, but that's not me. Like, I want to grow an empire eventually, and I want to be able to give back with what I've earned. So that's who I am.
Absolutely. So a lot of things we have to unpack and everything you just said. First of all, definitely don't be shy. You can talk about race, especially what all is going on in the world right now. It's great that we can have these type of conversations and that they are happening on a broader scale and with the people that are in the position to make decisions. So absolutely talk about it. And, you know, we're both a part of REAP, and that's one of the things that we've always kind of learned, and that's the reason that REAP exists is because there's such a scarcity in diversity in the commercial real estate space. Like you were saying, like majority of the people that are in the places of power and hold leadership positions or are those top producing brokers and realtors and people in the commercial real estate industry, especially in New York, are of course white males. And like you said, the people, it's a lot of nepotism. It's a lot of the young people, you know, this is their family business. So this is kind of something they've been doing from generation to generations, and people of ethnic, you know, different diversities are coming in, and we're starting from scratch, basically, trying to learn this game that they've been playing for hundreds and hundreds of years. So we have to just come in and take our piece, and that at this time, we're seeing a lot of headway, especially what's going on in the world right now. So definitely talk about that. And also, like you said, like I think a lot of people think, like how you said, your New Jersey broker thinks that, you know, women can only be these kind of soccer mom realtors that sell houses around their neighborhood. But that's another reason I wanted to do this podcast, is to show that there are women of color doing all levels of real estate, from that neighborhood realtor. And if that's you, there's nothing wrong with that, because they're making a lot of money. But there's also women doing those multi-million-dollar deals in New York. There's women in real estate development, real estate finance, construction, appraisal, whatever you name it, retail real estate, anything from top to bottom. There's women of color, women involved in it and doing it at a high level. So that's one of the other goals that I wanted to do for this podcast, is just to share those stories and show people that there are those people out there doing everything in real estate. So
Yeah.
So for sure. So you, like I said, that's one of the reasons that we always vibed and we always had good energy, because you think big and you want to break barriers, and you don't want to just do the status quo and what's expected of you. You want to, you know, do more and, you know, break into things that nobody expects you to. So I'm right there with you, girl, for sure.
Thank you.
So you also mentioned you wanted to be in real estate in New York, especially because you wanted to kind of change, be a part of the change of the landscape and how things are done. Can you just talk a little bit more, expound on what you meant about that?
Okay, so to be honest, I'm still fairly new in the New York real estate game. And I am on the residential sales and rental side, and it is a tough market. What I learned in school was 1 out of 10 new agents will survive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's irregardless of what your color is, what your background is, your age, your, you know, if your gender. 1 out of 10, it's not a very good success rate. And it's you got to really hustle in New York. But the thing is, like you were mentioning about Project REAP, what I loved about that program was you don't necessarily have to just be working at an agency. Like, you don't have to be at one of the Douglas Elliman, Compass. You don't have to be at like one of the smaller boutique ones. You don't have to be a rental agent. You don't have to be a sales agent. There's so many other things that opened my eyes about real estate through the REAP program. Like, you know, companies always need scouts for real estate, you know, or you can be a property manager, or there's so many other paths you can take. And for me, it is development. I would love to be a part of building New York City. I love New York City. I grew up going to school in the Bronx. I went to school in Manhattan for college. Like, New York is in my blood. And, you know, I want to be a part of the shaping of it all. I got to see it for like growing up, took a step back for about a decade. 12 years in Korea, 3 years in San Diego, then coming back here. New York changed a lot, but not as much as I saw Korea changed in the same time frame. So I was really surprised that, you know, a lot of things hasn't changed, and what can I be doing to be part of that? But even though I'm new in real estate, I'm learning the basics. Like I mentioned, my parents are immigrant parents, and they really believe in education, and they really believe in learning the foundation. And yes, I am in sales and rentals right now, but Project REAP also provided me with a great network of people, of like-minded people who are trying to think out of the box and how to help each other move up the ladder together. So I think that was a great blessing for me to be a part of that. And because of that, I've been able to start like thinking out of my box. How can I start learning about development? And I got to intern under a female builder in one of the areas I work in. And it was great experience for me because most builders are guys. And they don't really have the same finesse. Even though she's a woman, she's very strong in finances. She used to be in accounting at one of the big firms. And you get to see how she incorporates the feminine touch, like the male mindset, and how she's able to survive and flip so many houses or apartments or offices and, make her way. She was a great role model. And I would love to be part of like the changing landscape of New York. You have a lot of new developments coming up too, and you have a lot of old buildings that need to be renovated or flipped or modified to accommodate this new society. So yeah, I think that would be the best way for me to put how my experience was so far in the New York real estate. Like I'm learning a lot. You have to put in the time and effort and pound the pavements and really hustle and get to know all the different properties or the areas, the neighborhood. I'm constantly exploring, constantly researching. And if you don't, you're not going to be able to survive. And to be honest, it's been a struggle. The struggle is real and it's not easy. People think they watch the TV shows like HGTV and flipping houses is super easy. You'll make so much money. Or they'll watch $1 Million Listing and think, I can sell. Do you know how hard it is to get like a $25 million apartment as a listing? There's agents are a dime a dozen, and it's a people game. And in New York, agents, a lot of them are sharks, right? So it's really cutthroat to survive. I don't play that way, so I have an even tougher time, but I truly believe if your heart is in the right place and you genuinely care about people, then your career, it's gonna develop that way. I'm not gonna be the typical New York agent, but I have different dreams than the typical New York residential agent. So I'm not trying to compare myself to anyone else. I'm just going my own path and doing my own thing and being surrounded by people who help me grow, and I can help them grow too.
Absolutely. I know, like I've been saying before, you've always provided positive energy, always provided value, always been willing to help everybody. So I know great things are coming your way. You provide the value for people and the money will come. And you always work hard. I know you're out there educating yourself and developing those relationships with people all the time. I want to just say one thing about what you mentioned about a female builder, and just women in this real estate game or any industry that's traditionally male dominated. It's so important for us to get more involved because with New York specifically, there's a lot of government programs. I know like the Port Authority does a lot of requests for bids for stuff, and they have a certain amount of money or projects that they set aside specifically for minority-owned companies and women-owned businesses. And if there's not that many in the pool that are women-owned or minority-owned, you're basically going to get picked to do those jobs by default almost, because you're not competing with a bunch of people. So like we just as women and as minorities, we have to educate ourselves on the type of programs that are going on so we can take advantage of them. And that's the way to build more wealth. That's the way to get our name out there, develop more relationships. The programs and stuff have been there. This is something that's not new just because of what's going on in the world. This is something that's been around for years. So we just have to be educated and in the right places and do research to find out the type of things that are available for us. And I want to talk more about you specifically. I know you're involved heavily in a lot of nonprofit organizations, and you help your clients. You work with a lot of clients that are dealing with government subsidies, trying to find rentals or trying to find properties to live in. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So ever since I was young, my parents always taught me to give back to the community. So volunteering, community service, nonprofit work is really a big integral part of my life. And when I came to New York, I first had to figure out what direction my life was going. And that's when I joined real estate. And the first year I really eat, breathe, sleep, dreamed, everything real estate. And I didn't even have a social life. I didn't have any friends. And I was feeling like something's missing. And I met somebody who was really passionate about being involved in an organization called Help USA. And he's an alumni of mine. I met him at a networking mixer, and he's like, we had coffee and we really hit it off talking about Help USA. And I got to learn more about the organization, and I'm like, how do I get involved? And I had a lot of experience with volunteer groups and like being on boards and helping out like communities and getting events put together. And I wanted to make a difference. Like, that's my life goal. Okay. So I was just like, how can I help? Like, what can I do to be a part of this? And we ended up building the associate board for Help USA. It's the junior board. And we're trying to get young professionals interested in the same goal and cause and mission. And Help USA was actually founded by Governor Cuomo back in the 80s. And it's not a political group, but the Cuomo family is still behind it. Maria Cuomo is our chairman. And we have shelters all over the place. So it started in New York, but we've got it in New Jersey as well, Pennsylvania, DC. And they don't, what I loved about Help USA, what really drew me to Help USA was it goes beyond homelessness. They were they were assisting and helping people build their lives back up. And they were helping so many different groups. They were helping the vets. They were helping domestic violence survivors. They're helping special needs. They're helping single families. You know, so it really meant a lot to me that I was able to hit multiple birds with one stone. Just by being super involved with this group, I'm able to help all different causes that really meant a lot to me. And I got to, by chance, it wasn't through Help USA, I started getting clients who were from the shelters. And that really meant a lot to me, that Help USA had my back, and they really were there to help me with my career. And they were really supportive in developing me in trying to help these individuals. Now, it's really hard for people coming out of the shelter system to find their own apartments. There's a lot of scammers out there. If you look on like a lot of public posting sites, a lot of people are trying to take advantage of these individuals because they're on government support systems. They're going to be getting money from the government, and these people find them easy targets because they don't know any better. So like, I'm looking as an agent myself, I'm looking on like the databases, the MLSs that I have access to. I'm looking at other public sites, and because I'm seeing so many different things, I recognize when there's a replica and something's not right. But these individuals will not know, and a lot of them are caught in the system. You know, there's two different programs that I've worked on. It's the SOTA program and the City for HEPS program. SOTA program allows any of the shelter individuals, shelter clients, like in New York, move anywhere in the world, actually. It doesn't have to be moving across the river. City for HEPS has to be within New York itself. So it could be any of the 5 boroughs. But the problem is, City for HEPS is a monthly voucher system versus SOTA, which pays a year's rent up front. And now with the pandemic going on and all the government assistance going out to everybody, there are issues. Like, we've been really struggling to find my client a home with the voucher system because landlords are not sure if they're going to be able to get their monthly paycheck, their income, through the City for HEPS program. So there's a lot of intricacies. Everybody's case is a little different, but what I'm really happy that I'm able to give back to society is I'm actually helping these clients. A lot of other agents are not keen on taking on such clients because it's not going to bring money to their bank, and it's a lot of legwork. But if I feel like I'm able to help somebody better their lives and move on and grow, that's something I want to be a part of and be part of their journey. And I'm really grateful I have these opportunities.
Absolutely. And It's a lot of things like that going on in New York, especially because there's been an affordable housing crisis in that city for however long. And the cost of living is just going up and up. And it's probably one of the only cities, I think, in the country where the vast majority of people are renters there.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the rental rates keep going up and the wages are not going up at the same rate. You know, the
Mm-hmm.
affordable housing crisis is going to continue, and that wealth gap is going to just continue to get wider. So I definitely have firsthand experience with the soda program because I actually had a tenant that was a soda tenant, and it's great that you get the money up front. But as far as any type of, I guess, servicing or dealing with the city, asking any questions, like it's very a difficult process to get, you know, any contact from anybody from the actual agency. And I know in New Jersey, depending on who you ask, really, some people say they were trying to get rid of the program because the like in Newark especially, like the city was getting mad because they weren't getting any revenue from the soda program. Basically, they were saying New York was trying to dump the people from the homeless shelter into like the surrounding areas. And the cities were like, okay, after that year, if they can't afford it, now these people are now homeless in our cities.
Yeah.
Like you said, because I've seen people that have gone and got a soda tenant, and they were all the way like in North Carolina. So you can be anywhere around the country, like you said. The other program, like you said, it's just in New York, but these people don't have the living wages to live places. And like you said, the landlords are a little bit hesitant. One, because there's a stigma with people that are getting government subsidies anyway. There's always a stigma with that. But then, like you said, it definitely makes sense if the program is only monthly. With what's going on in the world right now, like these city programs might run out of money, especially when you're having to put more money budget towards, you know, they're not collecting as much taxes because there's not as much commerce going on in the city. People aren't traveling as much. So something has to give at some point. So definitely understanding what's going on with that situation, and it's unfortunate. But I'm glad that, you know, there's people that you are really trying to fight the good fight, because like you said, there's a lot of realtors and brokers out there that wouldn't even take on these clients because there is a lot of work involved in it, and you get less reward as far as financially. But it's definitely something that needs to be done, and somebody needs to fight the good fight. So definitely appreciate you for doing that. All
Thank
right.
you.
Yeah. So I wanted to also talk to you just about, you know, let's go back a little bit to like what you were saying about the island, like selling the island and selling all these international properties. Like whatever also became of that kind of stuff.
So it's really hard to connect because of my background in Korea. As a news anchor, I did get to meet a lot of influential people and people from all different industries and backgrounds. And it's very difficult to find the right people to connect. In New York, even though I'm American, I just moved back to New York fairly recently. I'm still building up my network. So I've been pretty much trying to rely on potential buyers in Korea for these properties. Now, the Greek islands, for example, it was a little bit tricky because Greece's economy sort of tanked. It's great for opportunistic buying, but also if people are not familiar with the Greek laws, it's a little difficult. China was really interested in Greece because they have shipping, a big shipping center in Greece. Korea was very interested in Greece for the tourism as well as shipping, but not as much as China. Again, like trying to connect people, finding the right buyer, it's very, very difficult. So doing deals on that kind of scale, it takes a long time and it's hard. So what I've learned is while you can continue to try to do those type of deals, you also have to really roll up your sleeves and get down and dirty in what's in your home territory. So international real estate's not exactly my focus, but it's something that I offer to my clients if that's something that they would be interested in, or if there are people I can connect internationally, that would be also something I'm trying to do. For people who can't afford a private country club, you know, there are smaller properties that, like, I have relations with the top developer in Dubai, and they have beautiful apartments that people can buy, and, you know, or they can have as investments. They can have like residences at hotels that I can also help connect them to. So yeah, international stuff is very fun and all, but my main focus has to be in the New Jersey, New York area. And that itself is a big territory to cover.
Absolutely. And then in New Jersey, like the difference of price point and, you know, neighborhoods can vary drastically within, you know, a 30-minute drive. You can go from like Newark to Alpine, New Jersey, which is like the most expensive county in the state, within like 30, 40 minutes. So
Yeah.
so when you're now with Sotheby's, and you said they are definitely more internationally focused, how do you, I guess, how's your experience been with them? And are they, I want to say, like, do they have more support on an international scale? Do they kind of encourage more of those international transactions now that you're there as opposed to KW?
So I'm still with KW in New York City, and I was with KW in New Jersey, but I switched over to Sotheby's, and I decided to break up my branding because of two different reasons. Keller Williams, I first started out with in New Jersey as well, because Keller Williams offers like very good training, education. And as I mentioned before, my upbringing was really stressed on education. So while a lot of the realtors that were in my office were saying, you just have to go out on the job and learn on the job. And while that's all fine and good, and I agree with that, I personally need, for my foundation structured curriculum, I need to learn the ABCs first. That's how I learn. So I needed to go through that training system before I can go out there and have more confidence in knowing that what I've learned is the proper way. I'm very black and white in that regards. I don't like doing things like skimming off the edge. I'm not the type to cut corners. I want to do everything properly, legally, respectfully. You know, I really value those things. And I needed to have that foundation first. So I'm still with Keller Williams because the New York market and the New Jersey market's very, very different. It's a completely different beast. So as I mentioned before, I'm still fairly new in New York City, and I still need that training guidance. But Sotheby's, I've been getting a lot of great support. Now, when people are looking at different agencies, they have different cuts and different systems for commissions and support systems. So any new agent looking to break into the business should really shop around when they're looking for the right agency to join. And I personally didn't have someone guiding me along the way and to showing me like, this is what you should look for. Like, I had no idea. So yeah, I read up a lot of books. I saw a lot of YouTube videos for like what to do for new agents, like your first year in real estate, what kind of stuff should you be doing? And yeah, once I started to feel more confident, Sotheby's, I realized, provided, yes, better marketing. They have a more sophisticated name brand behind them. So for the most part, people of a different clientele will be more attracted to Sotheby's than they would Keller Williams, which is more like mid-market. It's more of the McDonald's of real estate, I would say.
Some people will probably take offense saying that, but that is true though.
So I mean, like, there's a luxury brand within Keller Williams, so I'm not knocking it at all. I was very proud to like try to introduce Greek islands through Keller Williams. I mean, I I I believe like there should be no discrimination in whatever socioeconomic class someone comes from. And you're talking about a girl who grew up with no money, and then she went to school with people with a lot of money, which is how I ended up, developing contacts who can provide Greek islands to me. So I'm not the type of person who's going to judge a person based on how much is in their wallet. Like I'm doing shelter clients, so I realized Keller Williams provides more openness to like the wider population. Sotheby's actually is open to all levels of homes, but most people think they only do McMansions, which is not the case. So I realized that was a big discrepancy. When I told my friends, oh yeah, I joined Sotheby's, they were all congratulating me like I did an upgrade in my life. And I said, it doesn't matter what your agency is, it's based on
still commission.
And they take a bigger chunk too. So, but the name brand, the marketing they provide, that's gonna all be totaled into like how much they take from your cut. And they do give great support. So there's like pros and cons to every agency, and that's what I would strongly suggest to every new agent. You got to figure out what works for you. And that's why I had to break up the branding, because I needed to have certain situations where I can work with a certain type of clientele, and then another type of situation where I can work with different types of properties. So you have to see what works for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Branding is super important when you're thinking about which brokerage to affiliate yourself with. Because like you said, Keller Williams is a name that most people will recognize, but it's also most lay people will deal with that, if that makes sense. Like Sotheby's, when I think of it, I automatically think of luxury real estate. I ought to think about it more like sophisticated clientele. And sophisticated meaning that they are more knowledgeable about real estate. It's not just, someone that's just trying to buy their first property, like their first home ever, or they're trying to sell their property that's been in their family for however long. Like it's more of a like high-end investors, commercial real estate. So all of that definitely matters when you're, talking to that type of client. Like perception is everything. So all of that is super important. So best of luck to you with Sotheby's. Like I'm also excited for you as well. It's not, like you said, it's not a raise like anything, but it is definitely a different type of people that you're dealing with when you're with Sotheby's, for sure. So cool. So do you have anything else that you have coming up or that you're working on now that you want to share?
No, I mean, like the work that I'm doing with Help USA, I'm really proud of that. And that's something that I really wanted to spread the word, because it's brand new. And it's not just like homeless that we deal with. We also deal with low income affordable housing. And I'd like to give a quick shout out, if that's okay. This associate board that I'm chairing, that I founded, we are always looking for new talent. We're looking for anyone interested in this field, and we're growing the associate board as well as the young patron circle. So the young patron circle is basically anyone who's interested, any young professional helping out with this kind of cause. Any of the target groups that we work with as clients, we will have events for you. We're always looking to develop and help USA grow, and we want to spread the word. So come check us out. It's the Help USA Young Patron Circle, and we've launched this year, and we hope to go national, and that's our goal.
Absolutely. We'll definitely share that information with all the listeners in the comments section, and for sure join, because it's a definite cause that needs more great people, needs more innovative thinkers to be on board with it. I know we're both in different boards that we've been active in. And I also wanted to talk to you about urban plan, because I know me and you have both done that. And I have something coming up that I'm going to be involved with Urban Plan, but I know you were doing it as well. So can you just tell people that aren't familiar, like, what is it and what was your experience actually going through it?
Oh, geez. Oh, my goodness. I wish I had this kind of program growing up myself, like I knew real estate was interesting, but I didn't really know what real estate really entailed. And so I actually went through the training program with you for the ULI, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we basically would be supporting high schoolers, like, learn about real estate development. And it was a really fascinating process because they break it down into such simple terms. Like when I came back to New York and told myself, oh, I would love to try to go into development somehow, it just really boggled my mind. Like, do I need a master's? Do I need an MBA? And they're teaching this to the high school kids, They're like bringing out like these big Lego blocks and how would you guys arrange this town? Like, what is the best way to like structure this town and develop it? And like residential, commercial, how would you all put this together and why, And it's just getting these kids to get their brains turning and be creative, think out of the box. And like, how would you build up New York City, Like this imaginative town, it doesn't have to be New York City, but like, what I was mentioning before, like seeing Seoul develop, seeing New York City develop, it always boggled my mind. But then having a chance to like start from scratch and then see how people's brains would formulate such a town, this fictitious town, and giving the kids this chance, it was just really an incredible opportunity. And, for real estate professionals to give back their time to help the next generation, like you're actually being a part of the development process by helping these kids grow and learn. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity for people to look into ULI, and you're doing another program which I loved to hear about. Like, I think you should share that with others about like this other program that's very similar to the one that we went through.
Yeah, so Urban Plan is basically it's a program that the ULI, which is the Urban Land Institute, works with local high schools, and they bring together different people in real estate, usually commercial real estate, brokers, engineers, developers, lawyers, anybody that's in real estate that wants to be involved in this. So you come together, you have a whole like day session where you're training on on the program, how to kind of, talk to these kids about the different areas of real estate. So basically you're coming together to work on this project to build a fictitious city. And you have to think about, what you're building, how you're kind of organizing like the city center. Does it make sense for the transportation that's coming into the city? Where are you gonna put like a homeless shelter? Where are you gonna have green space for people to be able to exercise and, enjoy outdoor life? Where are you gonna have the central shopping district, and like where's the discount store versus where's the high end kind of stores? And then also you had to think about the finance, because it's not like an unlimited budget, just like in real life. So you have to think about the people that already live in the city and what they want, what different organizations are going to personally contribute to build. So public-private partnerships, you're thinking about all of this in the context of building this fictitious city. And so everybody on the team has a different role that they're in charge of. And then you do this for like a day with different people. So it's also a good networking tool, obviously, because you're getting to meet a lot of different people that are also practicing in different areas of real estate. And then you do this whole day training, and then like a week or so later, you actually go to a high school class and you facilitate the kids doing this project as well. So they kind of take it and run with it. And some of these kids were, talking about some stuff that when I was in high school, would have been like, huh? So it's just amazing to see like how knowledgeable these kids are, how innovative they are, how outside the box that they think. And that's one of the things that I'm really passionate about, because I feel like, when I was growing up, nobody was talking about real estate in this context with anybody I knew. I didn't know anybody that was a real estate developer. Anybody that I knew in real estate was just, like you said, someone that sold houses, was a realtor in the neighborhood or in the city or whatever. But nobody was talking about these kind of high level concepts in real estate. And I think personally that we should be introducing this type of stuff even like in middle school level, even
Yeah.
on, just a basic level, just even like the finance part, even the basic stuff about how to purchase a property, that kind of stuff we should be introducing in middle school. But so to hear these high school kids and, seeing them put together this whole project, and at the end, it's basically like a team project. So there's a couple of teams, and then at the end, everybody presents their project of their plan of how they built their fictitious city to like a fake city council. And then whoever has the best plan based on, how it makes sense for the flow of traffic and the flow of the actual city, and then makes sense from a financial standpoint, that team wins. So it's a great experience. And what she was saying I have coming up, we did it in person last year, but now that, everything that's going on with the world, we're having a virtual session. So it's also going to be interesting because it's bringing together people in real estate from different areas of the country. So that's going to be a great networking event. And it's also helping other high schools that are not just in New York or New Jersey. I think we're helping some kids that are in Miami. So that's going to be super interesting. I can't wait to do it. It's going to be next week. So by the time this airs, it may have already happened. So I'll give you the update of how that went, but I'm super excited to do it. And I've, been a part of Urban Land Institute for a couple of years now, and they have this type of program, but they also have other events that I love going to, teaching you all about real estate development and, different types of development, residential, commercial, retail, industrial, everything. So it's just a good organization to be a part of. And I've enjoyed and met a lot of great people that hopefully I'll have some of them come on this program as well in the future, but I've enjoyed being a part of it for sure. So
yeah,
cool.
That's why you and I definitely connect, because we always want to give back. So you've got a great heart, Jess.
Oh, thank you. You as well. Like I said, I'm sad that the world is how it is. We can't get together and, do all these things that we were talking about doing. So, but we will for sure soon. So anyway, I just want to wrap it up here with our last couple of questions. We have a segment called the Fabulous Four, where I ask everybody the same 4 questions. So just answer, off the top of your head, whatever comes to mind. Okay. So the first question is, what is your favorite real estate book?
Okay. I don't have a favorite real estate book. I've read a lot of real estate books, but I can't say I have a favorite real estate book. I'm really big on personal development instead. So, and I think this ties into my real estate career. I am, so when I was in broadcasting, I was a book commentator, and I was always introducing books that I love. And like the hosts always made fun of me because I'm bringing up self-help books. And I believe personal development is key to achieving your success. And I'm sure a lot of people have heard of this author, Timothy Ferriss. His claim to fame is the 4-Hour Work Week. But what I love about his latest books is Tools of Titan and Tribe of Mentors. I also love short stories and people's life lessons. And you're getting like wisdom from these top-notch individuals from all industries, all walks of life. And in these really thin books, you're going to get a wealth of knowledge. So, and you can apply it to your real estate career, your personal life, you name it. So these are the 2 books that I would recommend. Tools of Titan and Tribe of Mentors.
Yeah, I've read 4-Hour Work Week, which is great, and I need to revisit it, especially during these times. There's definitely some things I need to kind of take more action on with those, but I definitely have been meaning to read Tribe of Mentors. I've heard great things. So you're just another person that's told me to read that book, so I will for sure. Okay, so the second question is, what advice would you give to your younger self, knowing what you know now about real estate?
Oh, geez. Okay. I wish I had learned about investing in real estate a lot earlier in life. Looking back on it now, like I didn't think that you can be so young and start your real estate investing and building up your portfolio. But as I've gotten older, I've come across like 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, like people in college who are doing amazing things and already starting to work on their portfolios. And yeah, I wish I had more guidance in how to navigate that. You, like I said, I come from an immigrant family. Like we did want to have that American dream, but my father's specialty wasn't real estate. It was healthcare. And he did, like we moved around a lot. And so I was used to like hopping around. It was, sometimes I would move like 2-3 times in a year. And it was very difficult growing up because I never had stability in a certain spot. So even when I was living in Korea by myself, I was moving around a lot. And during that time, I learned the hard way to figure out which neighborhoods are going to increase in value, what neighborhoods are like deemed more attractive to certain types of individuals, and what has potential to grow, and how do you figure out like the crappiest house in the best neighborhood, and how can you like, so I've been learning all this way later in life. And I wish I had a chance, like when I was younger, we didn't have internet, we didn't have HGTV, we didn't have a lot of the resources that kids today have access to. We didn't have you know, Rich Dad Poor Dad. You know, we didn't, I wish I had a chance to learn earlier about this and had my hands wet at an earlier age, so that I could have developed this portfolio for myself and for my loved ones.
Absolutely. And that's why, again, these programs that we're involved in, like Urban Plan and just anything that is focused on giving more real estate education, even from a like building wealth, investment, like just learning how to buy a property, having that education as early as possible is so critical in your mindset and how you know, do your own finances and everything. So it's so important, definitely. All right. The third question is, what do you personally want to learn more about when it comes to real estate?
So I am really interested, for my career path, I'm really interested in learning about development, and that's where I would like to take my career eventually. On a personal level, I'm interested in learning to develop my personal wealth through flipping and through my own personal investments, and then property management, being a landlord, like gaining more properties. So yeah, those are the two routes that I'm trying to take right now. And slowly I've been going to a lot of meetups and seminars and networking with individuals to learn about how to pull a team together, to learn about like what neighborhoods would be good to flip in and invest in. And it's constant learning. You have to constantly put yourself out there. You can't just watch HGTV and think that you're going to be like a PhD in like how to flip a home. Like it's a lot of money. It's a lot of work. It takes time. Like there's a lot of moving pieces to it. But you know, that's something that I personally want to do. Like you said, like you can have tremendous wealth in real estate if you're willing to put yourself through it.
Right.
Or you can be one of the 9 out of 10 agents who don't survive. So you got to figure out how to build your life. I got to figure out like plan A, B, C, because a lot of things do go wrong in real estate. But if you want to make it, you got to have a contingency plan. You got to be able to juggle multiple things. You can't just do one thing. And yeah, that's what I'm trying to do.
For sure. Just real estate is so worth it, but you got to be resilient because there's a lot of things that can go up and down with, the process, with the market, with the macroeconomic, economy that's going on with the world. Even like you said, people that have been doing whatever field of real estate for 30 years or so, there's always more to learn, and there's new technology coming out all the time to improve and make your processes more efficient. So there's always something else that you can learn, and there's some other person that you can meet that can help you, further on your journey.
Mhm.
So absolutely. All right. So the last question is not really a question, but can you give a shout out to another woman that's doing some amazing things in real estate?
So I would like to shout out my aunt. She is in real estate and she's self-made. She basically came to America later in life. She got married and with her family went into real estate. She's from a non-real estate background. She was doing bookkeeping and accounting, and that's her field. And she's a very sharp and savvy businesswoman, and she built up her own little empire. And she's got like a pretty vast portfolio of like properties, including a bunch of like luxury properties in Manhattan. And she basically started by flipping.
Mm-hmm.
And what I really admire about her is not only is she like a savvy businesswoman, she's real estate is not her main gig anymore. And she's been giving me pointers here and there as I've been going on my journey now. But she wasn't there in the beginning for me. But what I did see was she built up her wealth in real estate, and she uses that money that she earns in real estate, which is not her main focus. She uses that money and she built a community center in her town, and she feeds the senior citizens lunch and dinner, and all the money that she's like developed from real estate. I know in one night she had like a closing. She holds parties, and she had a closing. She earned millions of dollars in her commission alone. All that goes back to the community. Her main job is what she uses to support her family and her employees and whatnot. But real estate, all that money goes straight back into the community. You gotta give back. Mm-hmm. So while this is not her main thing, it's not something she focuses on all the time. That's what I've learned. You've always got to give back.
What's her name?
I'm not gonna say.
Okay.
A little too
no worries.
public.
Oh, okay, got you. Well, definitely shout out to her. That's so important. Like you said, like you generate this wealth and you gotta impact the community. And that's one thing with real estate. Also, you can actually build something that's tangible, that's can last generations, especially something that's for the community. So that is awesome. That is awesome. So, all right, lastly, how can people get in touch with you if they want to do business or they want to find out more information about the different the organizations that you were involved in? How can they get in contact with you?
You can email me at junechang.re@gmail.com. So junechang.re as in like real estate @gmail.com, or you can find me on Instagram at junechang.
Okay, awesome. Any other messages you want to leave us with before we close out?
I just want people to remember that real estate is a people business. It's not a solo venture, that everyone has to work as a team. So, you can't go up alone in this. You have to really have good people around you. And I've been very fortunate so far to have like great experiences. You have to be careful, but if you have the right people around you, it's gonna make this whole journey a lot more fun and enjoyable and worthwhile.
Absolutely. I love that message. Definitely, as I mentioned before, like a lot of the things that I've done in real estate wouldn't even be possible without having the right people around me, having good mentors, having people like you that are always having positive energy and always willing to contribute value, your knowledge, your information, your resources, and everything. So definitely real estate is a team sport. Great message to leave us with. Okay, cool. So thank you so much, June. I really appreciate you taking this time to share your knowledge here on the show. So thank you again. Please stay
Thank
safe out
you.
here.
You too. You
Stay
too. Thank you
safe.
for the invite.
Of course, of course. Much more success to you. And I know we'll be doing more stuff together in the future. So cool. All right. Well, this was the Pretty Girls Love Real Estate podcast. Again, I'm your host, Jessica Washington, and signing off. Until next time.